Hey, 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 New Hope Church. Pastor Jim coming at you with episode 2 in this current Soulcare series on running towards what is hard. If, as always, you are enjoying these videos, please hit that like button and leave us a comment because we love comments. Now, last week we talked about perseverance and we talked about doing hard things because we grow when we do hard things. We don't grow when we are relaxing. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we are tested, when we do things that are hard, when we're challenged, we grow. So I want to look at, as we get into today's lesson, I want to take a peek at a passage, and it's in the book of Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. It says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and he sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." So there's 3 things in this passage that I really want to highlight. The first of which is he tells us to throw off everything that encumbers us, throw off everything that gets in the way of us fulfilling the potential that God has created in us. And then I'm thinking about the parable that Jesus taught, of the parable of the talents, where he gave one servant 5 bags of gold. He gave one servant 2 bags of gold and one servant 1 bag of gold. And he told them to use these bags of gold, go and invest them, use it however you can do to make me money, to benefit me. And then when they did that, the guy with the 5, the guy with the 2 went out, and it's like they threw off everything that encumbered them. They weren't concerned about failing. They weren't concerned about what's going to happen if the weather turns bad or if the market goes down. They weren't worried about any of that. They just took what the master gave to them and they went and they used it in a way that was beneficial to the master and was also ended up being a benefit to them. When we throw off all of those things that hinder us, we're recognizing the potential that we have, that God has created in us. And we are then stewarding that potential well. Not because it's ours, not because it's mine to possess, but it's because it's something that God has placed inside of me. And so anything that's going to get in the way of me using what God has given to glorify him, to bring benefit to the kingdom of God, I've got to throw that off. If I like to stay up late and watch stupid YouTube videos instead of getting to sleep, which makes me tired the next day, if I like to stay up really, really late, play video games, and then it makes me tired for the next day, well, I'm not stewarding my time well. If I don't eat well, then I'm not fueling my body properly. If I'm eating junk food all the time, I'm not fueling my body properly, which gives me the energy to live out the potential and the role that God has called me to do. Whatever I'm doing throughout my life and whatever God has called me to do, he wants me to throw off anything that is going to get in the way. If I'm a bad time manager, if I tend to be lazy at work, if I manage my money poorly, all of those things, throw those things off. And then he also says to throw off the sin that so easily entangles us. And we know what those things are. We know those things where we are living in disobedience. Maybe there are different addiction kinds of things that we're living in, habits that we just can't seem to break because we're not taking the necessary steps to go through the process of getting rid of those things. He says, throw those things off. Why? The second thing that he says is to fix our eyes on Jesus, because he is the one who perfects our faith. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, We are now choosing to live in obedience. We are doing the things that He has called us to do. We are seeking to please Him. We are doing things that are a benefit to the kingdom of God. Those are the things that we are desiring to do when we are fixing our eyes on Jesus. Then He is perfecting our faith. As we talked about last week, when we persevere, our faith is perfected. We come to maturity. Which brings us to the third point in that passage, which is we consider Him who endured so that we don't lose heart. We use Jesus as that model. I want to live like Jesus did. So that, and when hard things happen, then I can look at Him. How did Jesus handle hard things? How did He walk through those things? How did He not live in despair and feeling defeated? Well, if He didn't do it, He's the one that's perfecting my faith. So I should be able to live that way too. If I am keeping my eyes on Him, if I am throwing off the things that encumber me, if I am throwing off the sin that entangles me, then I'm going to be able to focus better, more consistently on Jesus. So I'm wearing another baseball jersey today. This is the jersey of another one of my favorite ball players growing up. His name's Tony Gwynn. He was a right fielder for the San Diego Padres for about 20 years. He was for those of you who are baseball fans, this will be significant. He was a career 338 as a career batting average of 338, which is the highest batting average of anyone else throughout MLB history. He was a 15-time All-Star, multiple other awards, led his team to two World Series, and he was a Hall of Fame inductee in 2007. Why do I bring him up? First, because he was so consistent as a ball player, showed up every day, hit after hit after hit. He was a very, very consistent ball player. But one of the things that he didn't do, he didn't throw off some of the encumbrances that were upon him. He had an addiction to chewing tobacco, which caused him later on, after he retired, he developed cancer in his mouth. And then he also had developed a pretty bad weight problem. And both of these issues together shortened his life to the point where he passed away. He was I think he was about 54 years old when he died. Such a shame, because right now he would be in his mid-60s. He would be able to be enjoying watching his son play Major League Baseball, because his son is playing ball right now. These are the things that happen when we don't throw off those encumbrances, when we don't throw off the sin that entangles us, because those things cause consequences to us. This man, who was such an amazing ball player, lost an opportunity to thoroughly enjoy watching his son play ball. So, why do we throw off these hindrances? Because these things entangle us. We choose to keep our eyes focused on Jesus, because that's the only way that we can consistently, day in, day out, obey Him. Jesus perfects our faith when we are doing this. We keep focused on Him and we keep obeying Him, so that we don't lose heart, so that we don't give in to despair and frustration when things go the way that we don't want them to. So, as we continue through this series, we're going to be looking at a number of these things that God desires us to cast off. There's a tool that we as a staff have been sharing with a number of people that have been coming in for counseling, for discipleship things. This is something that Nikki's brought to the team, and I think it's going to be it's just a really, really good tool for us to be able to use as we grow. I'll be talking about that a little bit next week. So everybody have a great rest of your week. Keep persevering, keep pushing on in the things that God has designed for you to do, and we will look forward to seeing you all very soon.